Certain for shepherds in fields as Service is starting. Please make your way to your seat. Thank you and get ready for a fantastic service.
Good morning, everybody. We hope you're having a great day. Welcome to the final service of 2020. I'm JD, and this is my wife, Joy.
Yeah, and today we are just looking forward to a great message. Mike and Monica are going to be preaching from their home. Jeremy and his daughter Haley are going to lead us in worship, and it's just going to be a powerful morning at home.
Yeah, and so we want to just invite you to just fully engage today. You know, whether it's raising your hands in worship, wherever you're at, whoever you're with, opening your hearts to the message. We're just believing that together, God has something so good for us as we wrap up this year. So let's start our service today.
Hey, good morning, church. We're so glad that you have joined us today for Church at Home. Would you join us today as we worship?
This is no performance, Lord, I pray it's worship. Empty words I can't afford. I'm not chasing feelings, that's not why I'm singing. You're the reason for my song, and if I sing with everything, if I sing for you, my King, I can't imagine why I would do this all for right, 'cause it's all to lift you high. Just my soul's attention. All I have is what I'll give, and more than a song that lasts a moment, I'll live a life life of honest worship. If I'm here to sing, then we'll sing with purpose. All the praise, Lord, you deserve it. I only wanna sing. If I sing with everything, if I sing for you, my King. I can't imagine why I would do this all for right, 'cause it's all to lift you high. If I sing with everything, if I sing for you, my King. And I can't imagine why I would do this all for right, 'cause it's all to lift you high. Darkness now has ended in the kingdom of light, in the kingdom of light. Forever under your dominion, you're the king of my life, you're the king of my life. You reign above it all, you reign above it all, over the universe and over every heart. There is no higher name. Jesus, you reign above it all. On the cross the work was finished. God, you poured out your life give us new life. Now from the lips of the forgiven, hear an anthem arise. Jesus, you're alive. You reign above it all, you reign above it all, over the universe and over every heart. There is no higher name. Jesus, you reign above it all. Let all of heaven and the earth erupt in song. Sing hallelujah to the everlasting one. There is no higher name. Jesus, you reign above it all. You reign above it all.
Sing, you sent the darkness running.
Darkness running out of an empty grave, now seated alone in glory, enthroned on the highest praise. You sent the darkness running out of an empty grave, now seated alone in glory, enthroned on the highest praise.
Darkness running out of an empty grave, seated alone in glory, enthroned on the highest praise. You sent the darkness running out of an empty grave. Now seated alone in glory, enthroned on the highest praise. You sent the darkness running out of an empty grave. Now seated alone in glory, enthroned on the highest praise. You sent the darkness running out of an empty grave. Now seated alone in glory, enthroned on the highest place. You reign above it all. You reign above it all. Over the universe and over every heart, there is no higher name. Jesus, you reign above it all. Let all of heaven and the earth erupt in song. Sing hallelujah to the everlasting one. There is no higher name. Jesus, you reign above it all. 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 Over the universe and over every heart, there is no higher name. Jesus, you reign above it all.
Father God, we thank you that you do reign, God, above every single circumstance, God, right now, in every single living room, God, every single device or computer or screen that people are listening on, God, you reign over every single circumstance, God, and we just declare that over your people right now, God, that you are our good God who loves us so much, God. We thank you in Jesus' name.
Beneath the surface of my anxious imagination, beckon to calmness that is found in you alone. It washes over every doubt, every imperfection. Jesus, your presence is the comfort of my soul. There's nowhere I'd rather be when you're singing over me. I just wanna be with you. Lost in your mystery, I'm found in your love for me. I just wanna be with you. Here in the waiting, I won't worry about tomorrow. No need to focus on the things I can't control. lost in your mystery. I'm found in your love for me. Ooh, I just wanna be with you. So let all that I am be consumed with who you are. Oh, the glory of your presence. What more could I ask for? So let all that I am be consumed with who you are. Oh, the glory of your presence. What more could I ask There's nowhere I'd rather be when you're singing over me. I just wanna be with you. I'm lost in your mystery. I'm found in your love for me. I just wanna be with you.
Well, church, how awesome that we can continue to worship together as we pray together from our homes, growing in expectation of what God has for us in 2021. And in Hebrews 6, verse 20, it says, "We who have run for our very lives to God, so God is our hope. We have every reason to grab the promised hope with both hands and never let go. It's an unbreakable spiritual lifeline. He is our lifeline now and forever, reaching past all appearances right to the very presence of God, where Jesus, running on ahead of us, has taken up his permanent post as high priest for us." I encourage you, as we pray, you can just close your eyes and repeat these words after me. May the hope of Christ and all that he promised me consume my mind right now. Help me to let go of control. I hold tight to this promise, his promise for my future. I trust his vision and his plan for my life. I put my hope in Jesus. Thank you for what you have done and what you continue to do. That is enough to fill me right now. with the joy of your presence. Thank you that you reshape the way that I think and the way that I live. Thank you for your hope. Amen. God, I just thank you that you are above all, and that as we feel this overwhelming sense of joy and hope, we can't help but bring that light to those that are around us. God, I thank you that 2021 is going to be a year like no other. God, there's going to be a definition of your reality that's going to break through in this year. We thank you that you still do miracles, that you still are working in our lives, and you're working in and through our lives to create a ripple effect of the light that you want to bring to the world around us. We just praise you and thank you and expect that you are doing great things, Jesus, in our midst, through us, in your name. Amen. Amen, church.
Well, thank you, Jen. That was a powerful prayer.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to encourage us in our giving. Every week we take time to remind ourselves giving is part of our worship. Giving is part of us putting God first in an area of our life that is so important to us. Yeah. And so I just have a verse that I want to encourage us with as we give today. Proverbs 11:25 says, "A giving person will receive much in return, and someone who gives water will also receive the water he needs." And there's a note here. It says, "Generosity places God's gifts and blessings into circulation. This principle is stated by giving we receive." You know, that might seem counterintuitive, but when we care about others, when we give to others, when we give even to God's kingdom, we find that our needs are met in the meantime, that God does take care of us. And so just as we give, I want to just encourage you to trust in Him, to trust Him with the things that you need, trust Him with the areas where you need watering, and give to others. It is a principle of God's kingdom that when we give, we receive. And so we don't give to receive, but it is a happy byproduct. But when we give, we also honor God. And so we are just so grateful for all the good that did come out of this year.
Yep.
We are thankful for the fact that we got into the new side of our building,
Yes.
which couldn't have happened without your generosity. And now because of that, so many people are blessed. So many people are able to actually gather because we have the space that we can spread out.
Very true.
Also, we've been able to just be a blessing to people in our community that had specific needs. Even just this Christmas, giving the kids in need the winter gear. You know, we've been blessed to be a blessing. We've been blessed to gather what we have together to help those in our community who have greater needs than we do. Yeah. And I just want to encourage you. There is definitely no pressure to give, and especially if you are maybe joining us for the first time, there's no pressure to give. But I want to encourage you in your giving. It is more blessed to give than to receive. And so how are we going to enter 2021? Can we enter with just hopeful expectancy as to what God can bring through our generosity? And also, it is the last Giving Sunday for 2020, and thankfully we get those great tax receipts that really help us out with our taxes. Mm-hmm. So I'm very grateful for a government that blesses us that way.
Yeah.
And so we are so grateful for your continued generosity. Thank you for the way that you've partnered with us to make a difference in our community, both locally and globally. And we are so grateful to enter 2021 with you. Why don't you check out this video for the ways to give?
Giving online is quick, easy, and secure. On the City Life app, tap Partnering with the heart icon. On our website, go to cty.lc/give and click Give via Tithely. Enter the amount and then select the fund you want to give to. Enter your credit card details and info, and if you want, you can choose to set up automatic giving as well. Click the Give button and you're done. If you don't have a credit card, you can click Give via PayPal, or you can give in person at the finance counter in the lobby. Thank you for investing into the lives of others. Hey church fam, I hope you had a wonderful Christmas. I want to take 1 minute to share some important details happening at City Life. A great way to stay connected in this season is to join our online location. On our City Life Facebook page, you can click Visit Group or go to cty.lc and click Join Online Church. We want to invite you to join us for 3 days of fasting and prayer. City Life is joining other churches across our province and nation to pray and fast from January 4th to 6th. This is a great opportunity for us to look beyond our circumstances and believe God for real change in 2021. Let's intentionally seek Him together. Stay tuned for more details on how you can be a part. For more info on event details or to register for anything we mentioned today, check out cty.lc/events or download the City Life Church app.
Hey church, happy December 27th from our home, man.
Happy pre-New Year.
Hey, pre-New Year. That is a great term. I like that. This is Pastor Chat on Sunday morning.
From our house.
From our house. It's so fun. I love this Sunday, the last Sunday of the year, because it's a Hinge Sunday. And it's that time where we close out the past year and we're opening the door on a new year. And whatever we all feel about the past year, whatever you're anticipating for the new year, you know what? There is something really incredible that God's got for you, that God's got for His church in this coming season. And so we're excited about this message today.
Yeah, we are. And it's, you know, this is, I don't think any of us have ever been as excited for a new year as we are for this year.
It's so true.
You know, the new year, it's something we talk about. A lot of times we talk about resolutions.
Yes.
And I don't know, you might be like me, a little bit mixed about the term resolutions, but I want to talk about solutions.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And we want to talk about that it's going back to the solutions. Really, you know, so many things. I'm just reminded of the book of Deuteronomy where Moses stood up and instructed the people, and he said, "I call to your remembrance." And that is really another word. And it was not to teach them something they didn't know, but it was to remind them of truths they did know, but had maybe forgotten. And so often we learn things throughout our life, but then we forget them. And so sometimes we've got solutions at points in our life, and then we've kind of abandoned those solutions.
Life has gotten crazy and we just forget.
And we just forget. So we forget the power of certain of beliefs, the power of certain habits. And so we want to look at today the resolution. And that prefix re, it carries with it an image of doing something again. Just going back and doing something again. And this is going back to the solution. You know, I wish my life, if it was a chart, I wish it would just kind of like climb steadily. But to be honest, I would say, especially in this last year, if my life was a chart, it would look more like the EKG on, like, you know, a dying patient.
I would be kind of flatlined a lot of times.
I was going to say, strong week. Oh, maybe dead. Oh, no, there's a little bit of life there. And then
it's like June. Woo!
You know, the simple fact is, if living vibrantly was easy to do, we would all do it regularly. But it can be a challenge, and especially in years like we've had. And so it's spiritual vitality. It's kind of like an iceberg. That, you know, the 10% is kind of what everybody sees of you, but all the substance of spiritual life is actually all under the surface. And this resolution, this is about reinforcing that 90% under the surface that maybe nobody else sees, but you're aware of it, and God's aware of it. And this is where our relationship with God takes place. And so there's some things to get back to the resolution. There's a few things that need to take place. One, I think you need to reflect, and I think we do that. You know, reflecting on 2020, that kind of my general consensus is let's just not talk about it at all.
No.
But we actually need to talk about it, because I think this is actually going to end up being a very significant year in many people's lives, because challenges, they bring out the worst and they bring out the best in us. And this is a year that has challenged us all.
Yeah,
and we've all experienced trauma. I thought the word trauma back in March and April was being a little bit dramatic. Now I don't think it's being dramatic at all. I think
maybe
trauma, it's a very descriptive and accurate word for what many of us are feeling. Difficult times teach us a lot about ourselves, and they also provide us with an invaluable experience and opportunity to experience God's grace.
Very good.
In very significant ways. And so what are some good things that we've learned? Well, I've learned, let me just talk about the church. I've learned that we have a phenomenal team that does whatever it takes to make church happen. And yes, and a big rounding sound of a round of applause. We love you, team.
We love you.
We love
you.
We love you. And it's, you know, the church is filled with a lot of people that just genuinely care for your soul and your health. And that's what we've learned about the church, is that it wasn't just skin deep.
Nope.
And that's what I've learned about myself. I've learned that I don't like being inconvenienced at all. I also discovered that a commitment to a healthy internal life is absolutely important and makes all the difference in difficult times. Little habits do make a big difference. In this last year, I've discovered a lot of little habits that I would say I had been on cruise control before this, and just putting some new structure and Sabbath, scripture before work, and scripture before social media or the phone. I found that boundaries on social media are super important.
Oh my gosh, yes. And on the news.
And then deliberate connection with others, taking the time to eat as a family, to slow down and just not be going all the time, which some of us just got no choice at this time. And then regular times of just silence and solitude, and making sure that there is regular scheduled time for a relationship with God. And I've discovered some, very, very positive and beneficial things in this past year through these new habits. Yeah.
That's very good.
So what about you?
What am I looking at? I'm looking at reimagine. There is nothing like hunger to get you imagining. Isn't that true?
Yes,
when you're hungry, I don't know about you, but you start imagining everything. You start imagining what you're gonna eat. You start imagining, for us, Fridays is family day. And
I start Googling recipes.
So does my daughter. Every once in a while during the day, I get these random texts from Samara, and I can tell she's hungry because she's sending me these Pinterest meals. We should try these. But there's something about hunger that gets us imagining. And the same, I really thought when you're getting hungry for food and you're imagining what carbs you're gonna eat, that's usually what happens on Friday for us. But you know what? What creates hunger in our soul? Well, fasting. Fasting is an intentional putting ourselves in a state of hunger. Now that could mean fasting food, like literally there's a physical hunger connected in our physical bodies that helps us connect to the soul hunger. But I find personally, it's like I can go all day and not even really be hungry. For me, it's fasting other things, whether, it's fasting media or fasting entertainment or fasting, other activities or things that are just kind of like the cruise control activities or the checkout activities where you just kind of like, I just want to zone out for a while. I find fasting takes on different forms, but fasting actually awakens us to what's going on in our soul, what's really been going on. And it awakens us to what we've actually been hungry for, and maybe literally, but I think it also awakens us to what we've been maybe hungry for, but we've been feeding our soul the wrong food. And I find that is so true. A lot of times where, that's hunger in the soul happens and we recognize, well, I've been feeding it. I've been feeding my soul. I've been feeding my mind. I've been feeding my emotions, all the wrong kind of food. And that's why it's hungry. It's still hungry. And our soul was made to hunger. And, if you've been in church, grown up in church or, in any kind of church setting, maybe you were told this as a kid, there is a hole in your heart that Jesus wants to fill. Do you remember that? I remember hearing that as a kid. There is a hole in your heart. There is a hole in your soul that Jesus wants to fill. And this is true. And, you know, even a lot of us might have experienced Jesus filling that hole. He filled our soul. And I know I have. And where it's like he comes in and that hole is like, it's like he fills it with his presence. And it's like all of a sudden, it's like there is a peace that comes in. There is a contentment. There is a joy. It's like you feel full. You feel like your life is actually complete. But then something happens. The spiritual stuff that used to fill you and make you full and feel full isn't doing it anymore.
Right.
And you're actually feeling dissatisfied and hungry. And it's easy to think, what's wrong? Like, what am I doing wrong? What's wrong with me? And well, actually, you're not doing anything wrong. You're probably exactly where God wants you to be. He wants you to be hungry and dissatisfied.
Right.
And, you know, that's it's kind of like one of those paradoxes I found about Jesus is that, well, he comes in to fill us. He doesn't promise that filling's going to be complete in this life. But you know what? When that hunger starts, it's like, this is where he allows that hunger to come and that dissatisfaction. And sometimes it's like a restlessness in our soul. He allows it to help us to remember where our hunger in our soul is actually going to be met. That it's met fully in him and not the stuff of this world. Not even relationships will completely fill that in us. And this is where fasting, man, it's such a great opportunity to reconnect with God, but also to remind ourselves where our real hunger is going to be met. And, you know, I love what Billy Graham said. He said, God made the human heart so big that only he can fill it. God made it demand so much that only he can supply that demand. Isn't that great?
That's great.
You know what? Fasting is what awakens us to our real need. Our need for God, for his presence filling our lives. But you know what? And this is a new thing where even just over this last season where we've really become, you know, just learning about fasting and just some of the things about fasting. I've fasted for decades, but I can honestly say in this last season through some of the practices that we put in and learning about fasting, this aspect of fasting, listen to this. This is from the book, The Common Rule by Justin Whitmell Early. And a lot of us have been reading this and going through this. He said, fasting isn't just about us and our need for God. He said, we constantly seek to fill our emptiness with food and other comforts.
Right.
We ignore our soul and our neighbor's need by medicating with food and drink and other substances or activities or distractions. Regular fasting exposes who we really are and reminds us how broken the world is and draws our eyes to how Jesus is redeeming all things. Man, it's so good. And
it's good.
You know, God made this really clear in Isaiah, where in Isaiah 58, 6-9, he said, is this not the fast that I choose to undo the bonds of wickedness, to tear to pieces the ropes of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free, and to break apart every enslaving yoke? Is it not to divide your bread with the hungry, bring the homeless poor into the house? When you see the naked, that you cover him, not to hide yourself from the needs of your own flesh and blood? Then your light will break out like the dawn, and your healing restoration, new life, will quickly spring forth. Your righteousness will go before you, leading you to peace and prosperity, and the glory of the Lord will be your rear guard. You know, the greatest power of fasting is connecting us to others and their needs. So, tips on fasting. How do you do it? Well, what you can do, not right now, at the end of the message, you can go to the City Life website, cty.lc. Just hit the search bar and search fasting. It's going to bring you up to the frequently asked questions page where there are lots of tips. Lots of great practical things, lots of questions, how to fast if you've never fasted before, what it could look like, how long. I know a lot of us are already planning and talking about starting giving a good portion of the month of January for fasting. One of the things that we're going to be doing as a church, January 4 to 6, we're actually joining with a lot of churches across our province that are going to set aside those 3 days to fast and pray, and not just fast and pray for ourselves, but to fast and pray for our nation, for our province, for our leadership. And so January 4 to 6. And so that is how we can begin. Fasting can help us reimagine not just where we're at, but even where we're going and what the future could look like. It helps. Hunger creates that new vision for our future. Another R word, resilient. I like that word, resilience. And you know what? I think you're hard pressed to find a more descriptive word for the church.
Right.
Isn't it true? Like
yes.
Throughout history, there isn't a more resilient entity on the planet than the church. It has survived pestilence, it survived plagues, it survived persecution, it survived, all sorts of things. It survived imprisonment, it survived social ostracizing and mockery, it survived government sanctions, it survived scandal. Like there's been some really bad scandal in the church. It survived theological upheavals and even theological divisions. And while there's a lot of different opinions about different aspects of theology, the fact is the church is still here.
Right.
It's still alive. It's still stronger than what it has ever been.
Yeah.
And I love this description in John 1:5. It's actually a description of Jesus, but it applies to the church too, because the church is Jesus' body here on earth. John 1:5 in the Voice says, it describes Jesus being a light that thrives in the depths of darkness, blazes through the murky bottoms. It cannot and will not be quenched. I love that. Isn't that amazing? God, the light of Jesus in his church, it's actually meant to thrive in the darkness.
That's right.
It's meant to thrive when things are the worst. That's when the church actually thrives. It doesn't just, survive. It thrives. I love that. And well, why is that good news? Well, because this is true of the church, that God's connected community here on the planet, that resiliency, that thriving in darkness, that resiliency bleeds into you and I.
Yeah.
It bleeds into our life. And I love this definition of resilience. Listen to this. It's resilient means it's the capability of a strained body to recover its size and shape after deformation.
That's good.
Caused especially by compressive stress. I laughed when I read that. Deformed. Anybody else feel deformed?
Compressive stress?
Compressive stress. It's like one of those squeezy toys that you squeeze them and then they bounce back. Those squishy things that are like those stress relieving things. Yeah. I love those. I could use a whole pile of them right now. But I think if you felt a little bit deformed, your soul has felt deformed in this season, man, you are not alone. But here's the thing about resilience. Resilience, it's not just about strength. It requires flexibility. And see, sometimes strength alone can work to our detriment. And we can work at developing our strengths to such an extreme that they start to work against us.
Yes,
Isn't it true? It's like when you're working out your physical body. If you just work on strength, just CrossFit, and you don't stretch,
you get in trouble.
You get injuries. You know what? And it's same with our soul. And and so sometimes we can work on our strengths. We can be we can be self-reliant. I got this. Don't need you. I don't need anybody else. Yeah. I can cover it. I don't want to bother you with my problems. I don't want to bother you. I can handle this. Well, you know what? That sounds noble, but it's exhausting. Another area where experience, we can have a lot of experience in our belt, but sometimes that experience, it can work against us because we don't have new perspectives. We can be locked into this is just the way it is. This is the way it happens. This is what happens. And we actually, it can stunt or prevent us from experiencing, I think, what God wants to do and how he could do something new. And, even focus. Sometimes we can be really focused, very focused people, and we can be so narrow focused that we're so focused on the tree we forget the forest, and we forget our little tree is part of a bigger forest. And one of the coolest stories I heard about flexibility and why this is so important, in the 90s, did you know this? In the 90s, there were a group of 8 scientists. They made this completely self-contained environment. They called it Biosphere 2. It was in Arizona. And there were 8 of these scientists. They wanted to see the viability of life in outer space. And so it was completely contained in this compound. And they lived there for 2 years. And this is what's so cool. They created every kind of ecosystem, little mini ecosystems. They created deserts. They created the rainforest. They even simulated oceans. And so they created pretty well every natural environment that you could imagine, every kind of weather element except wind. And this is what they found. After a while, these really tall, strong trees started snapping. These trees that in any other environment were huge, but they broke because there was no wind to make them strong.
Right.
I think, you know, man, they had all the right genetics, they had all the right stuff inside, but they didn't have the resistance from the outside.
Right.
They didn't have the pressure. They didn't have the tough stuff. They didn't have the difficulties. And, you know, they never developed that resilience.
Yeah.
You know, I think, man, if there's anything for us, for the church in this season is, man, we've needed, you know, I think actually, I hate to say it, but we've needed this season.
Right.
We've needed this past season to actually show us what is our strength in.
Yeah.
Where am I relying on just my strength? Am I relying on the power of the Holy Spirit in me? And we need pressure. We need resistance. We need storms. And if we respond rightly in those seasons, that's where we grow resilient. So how do you grow resilience? Well, I'm not going to talk a lot about strength, but strength comes through added weight.
Yeah.
Being willing to not just offload and try to just be okay with being comfortable, you know? Like you
right.
got to endure discomfort. If you're going to lift weights in the natural, it's not comfortable.
Right.
It's just not. And so you got to choose discomfort over comfort. And that doesn't mean you have to go chasing for comfort or discomfort, because it's always out there. But it's easy to just opt for comfort.
Right.
And if we're going to go strong, we need to be able to handle the discomfort.
That's good.
But when it comes to flexibility, this is what I found about the yoga. Doing yoga, man, if you're going to get flexible, this is how you get flexible. A little bit consistently is better than a lot sporadically.
Yes,
Isn't that true?
very true.
It's like if you do a little bit every day, you're doing better than doing, you know, you're better off to do 5 minutes every day than doing 1 hour once a week.
Right.
Like it's a little bit more consistently. And so some of the daily stretches that can really be good for building emotional resilience in us, or even that flexibility in our soul, things like getting God's word in us daily. It's that daily stretch. And why? Well, we simply need that bigger story. We need to remind ourselves that there's this bigger story framing our life. You know, daily stretch is like serving others. It gets us out of ourselves.
It does.
And, you know, a really important one is the daily stretch of finding and making time for connection with other humans that is not business related.
Yeah.
That is just not, you know, but to actually connect. And, you know, in a time where that's not possible, you might need to get creative. And what that looks like, as much as you hate Zoom, you might need to make some Zoom connections with humans. Tune in to the online location. Get on there. You know, and the other thing about creating flexibility is you got to extend. You got to go beyond. It's like if you're going to stretch, I got to go beyond what I want to stretch. I know when I'm stretching my hamstrings, I got to pull that leg back beyond what I feel like I can do. And, you know, sometimes there's even things in our soul, if we're going to get flexible, we got to be able to extend beyond what we can do or what we think we can do. And, you know, doing more than what we think we can do, handle more than what we think we can. And, you know, stretching is about holding. It's not pumping it. It's about holding. It's about getting a position and holding it. And that's where you start to get the stress. So, you know, when it comes to the flexibility in our soul, hold your position. You know, hold your position in your relationships.
Right.
Hold your position in your friendships, in your marriage. Hold your position in church. Hold your position in the things of life that are important. Yeah. You know, just to end with this, I love this quote. Somebody said, the enemy has lost the battle for our spirit.
Right.
So he's waging war on our soul. I just say it's so powerful, man. Let's resolve to grow emotional resilience in this coming year.
That's good. Which brings me to the last 3 words. I'm just going to chuck 3 into one point here: is resolve, reinforce, and restructure. Just rebuild those areas of strength in our life. And this is about our habits. We've talked a lot about habits in our last year, and it's been something that just even in our own lives, we've just been seeking to just be very intentional about our daily habits, our weekly habits, and our routines. It's resolve to not grow weary, but keep really doing good. Not get tired and give up on it. Just because habits don't always work quickly, it doesn't mean they're not working.
Very true.
It's just that some habits just don't work quickly. And let's face it, not all bad habits hurt us quickly, and not all good habits help us quickly. If I eat a full pizza tonight, I will not have to go buy larger clothing tomorrow.
Right.
And if I go for a long run tonight, I will not be necessarily fit and strong tomorrow because of the one habit. But if I do it every day for a week, or if I eat a pizza every day for a month, then
You will need new clothes.
I will need new clothes. And most solutions take time to work. Most habits take, most of the things, the formations and the practices that we do, they take time to work. And so in the new year, I'd like to just encourage us to reinforce the good and just, restructure our lives where needed, and just allow God to work in these areas. Galatians 6:9, at the right time, we will harvest a good crop if we do not give up or quit. And how do you get a good crop? Well, you sow good seeds. If you're potato people, you put potatoes in the ground, and then you get to enjoy French fries on your Friday night family night. Many of us know what the solutions to the challenges we're facing are. We know if we're struggling emotionally, we tend to know the negative things that have been influencing us that are causing that. We tend to know what we've been watching hasn't been feeding the right side of our soul. We also tend to know that by isolating ourselves, we're actually hurting our soul by not being connected to others. But we still have, just because we know what the problem is, doesn't mean we're necessarily carrying out the practices that are going to bring the solution. This is about implementing new solutions. So I want to just end practical as, here's some really practical tips for just implementing the solutions in our lives. So the first is see it. We need to look forward into what will my life look like when the solution is implemented. What will my life, I'm looking forward to a life where anxiety doesn't control my thought life during the day. I'm looking forward maybe to where my body and my physical health are feeling strong and healthy, and I have energy for the things that I want to do. Look forward to the solutions. See it. See the solutions. I'm looking forward to the strong and vibrant friendships when we're allowed to hug and see each other in person again. I'm looking forward, maybe it's financial. I'm looking forward to living life not under financial pressure or always behind the 8 ball financially, but in control. See the positive result of change. The second is specify it. And the more specific you make your solutions, the more likely you are that you'll be able to carry them out and continue them. Concrete things. In the book Atomic Habits, it says, the author says this, he says, many people think they lack motivation when in fact what they lack is clarity.
Oh wow, that's really good.
So it's just put definition to what you want. You're saying I want a vibrant spiritual life. Well, that's great, but everybody wants that. But what specifically? I will read my Bible before I scroll on social media. Like just something very specific. And the thing by making it specific is you make it achievable. The third thing is schedule it. Just put it on the schedule. There is something powerful about getting it on the schedule.
Reminders.
Many solutions don't require our willpower. They just require our commitment. They just need to get on the schedule. And schedule it. If you're feeling weak in relationships, schedule relational time. Have a standing appointment with someone. It's like, we will connect at such and such time every week. Just make things concrete. Schedule them, and they happen.
It's really good.
And then and the last is safeguard it. Safeguard it. Just get the checks and balances in your life that safeguard you from basically, I'm just going to negative energy. People feel depressed in direct proportion to the amount of time they spend on social media. And this is no longer just conjecture. This is scientifically verified fact. The longer you spend there, the less you're going to feel good about life. And so guard how much time you spend there. Let me finish with this.
I love it.
Final encouragement. 2020 has been a challenging year, but it doesn't have to be a bad year.
Right.
It can be, for us, it can be a path, and it's almost like a signpost forward to say, really there are better days ahead. And that, God's never looked at this year and said, whoops, didn't see that coming.
So true.
And he can use what this year has been for something great and profound, not just in us as individuals, but in us as a church, and also in us as a society. And James, he said to the church count it pure joy when you go through difficult situations, not because of the difficulty, but because of what the difficulties do and what they have the potential to do in you and in your life. He says, he compares it to the refining of your faith, which is more precious than gold.
Wow.
That you can end up with something more precious than gold in your life. Something, basically saying you can end up with something money could never give you.
Yes.
And
so
that
good.
prosperity can never give you. And that's depth and substance of your character. And I want to pray for you before we conclude, and pray that 2021, we get to say a new year, that it'll be the best year of your life. So let's pray. Father, I thank you that you have so much that you want to do in each of our lives, and those watching today, that you have never left us, you've never forsaken us, and your plan is good. You have plans to bring us into your purpose, and you have plans to establish your kingdom in our hearts and in our lives. And Father, as we approach this year ahead, I pray that we would not be comfortable, but that we would allow the hunger of this last year, the awareness of what's been missing, to allow us to hunger for the greater things that you have for our lives. And Father, for those that are watching now that don't know you, we just pray that they would come to know and experience you in this season. And if you're watching right now and you've maybe never prayed a prayer saying yes to Jesus, or a prayer saying yes to his purpose, you know, he has a purpose for your life. And that purpose, first of all, is not a job to complete. That purpose is a person that he has for you to become. And we very simply just give him permission to lead us, and then we say yes to follow him. So if you wanna pray that prayer, I'm gonna pray this right now, and you can just pray along with me as I pray. Father, I invite you into my life, and Jesus, I want your purpose for my life. I want your purpose not just for the tasks that I'm going to carry out, but the person that you've designed me to become. I want that person. I want that person that's not filled with anxiousness or fear or trapped by the world around me, but that experiences the freedom in life that comes only from you and from your presence. I invite you into my life now, and I ask you to change and transform me in Jesus' name.
Such a good message to end the year with. Thank you, Pastors Mike and Monica. And to all of you who were able to join us today, we're so grateful that we could end this year strong. And before we go, just want to give you one final encouragement. If you are new to church or new to following Jesus, we want to help you on your journey. And you can click on the link in the chat. You can head to cty.lc/nextstep. And we would love to just have someone connect with you if you fill out the form and help you on this journey, because it's a journey we're meant to do together. And I think that's what 2021 is going to be full of: people in community doing life together. And, speaking of community, as we wrap up here online in your homes, I want to encourage all of us to head over to our online location where we can talk to each other, ask how your Christmas was, stuff like that. Let's have a virtual foyer kind of thing and get to know each other some more. You can join that if you're not already part of that group. You can go to our City Life Facebook page and click on Visit Group, and you can become a part of that community where we can pray together, grow together, and laugh together, all of those awesome things. And so thank you guys for being here today as we wrap up 2020. Enjoy the rest of your holidays, and Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year! I don't have one of the... I want one of the things to blow at you, but throw confetti at you, but I don't have any confetti.